Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 96 in the book of Genesis. Today we're going to look at looking back the right way. And so we're going to ask the questions, how should we consider the looking at the destruction of others? Now we're going to use Lot's wife as a bad example today and Abraham as a good example. She looks back badly and is punished for it. Abraham looks back in the right way. So here we are. We're in the story of this escape of Lot from the city of Sodom. It's Lot, his wife, and his two daughters get an escape from Sodom. And that's a city of unrestrained, out of bounds, pervasive sexual sin, which is to say, spiritual sin. So the Lord finds 0 righteous people in Sodom, including Lot, including his family. But as a favor to Abraham, he sends Lot out. He gets Lot out, sends angels there to rescue him. And he just wouldn't leave. Verse 16, Genesis chapter 19, verse 16, it says, but he lingered. So the men seized him and his wife and his 2 daughters by the hand, and the Lord, being merciful to him, they brought him out of the city and set him outside of the city. Then a little bit later on, Genesis 19:23, our official verse. The sun had risen on the earth when Lot came to Zoar. So he said Zoar is going to be this little city of refuge for you. Verse 24, then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire from the Lord out of heaven. So the fire comes from above. And he overthrew those cities and all the valley and all the inhabitants of the city and what grew on the ground. But Lot's wife behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. So she's the bad example, and then right now we're going to do the good example, which is Abraham. Verse 19:27. And Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before the Lord. And he looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the valley. And he looked, and behold, the smoke of the land went up like the smoke of a furnace. So it was that when God destroyed the cities of the valley, God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had lived. So Lot's wife, let's talk about her first of all. Apparently, she looks back badly. That is, without the sobriety and without the critical way you're supposed to do it, and perhaps even in rebellion. And that was seen by God and noted by God and immediately punished. And she was turned into a pillar of salt as her just reward. So I think her example serves to tell us is there's a way that we can look back carefully and the way we can look back not carefully and displease the Lord and place ourselves smack dab in the middle of judgment like she was. But in a sense, Abraham also looks back. So why doesn't he get smoked? So I think there's a lesson in Abraham and how we can do this right. So the description of Abraham as he considers the activity of God. So it tells us that when he does it early in the morning, which here. He does it in a particular place where he stands before the Lord. I have a favorite green chair, and you may have a place that is a special place where you stand before the Lord. Maybe it's a place where you sit before the Lord. And then what? So he looked back and he beheld. So he doesn't do this casually. So how does he do it then in his heart? He does it with the right attitude, with the right eyes, and with the right posture. And then what does he find? He finds that God is doing something with his nephew Lot, and in doing so is remembering Abraham. So God is being good to Abraham by being good to the knucklehead Lot. All right, so let's ask the question, why does the Lord overthrow? So why did Sodom, and let's say there's 20,000 people in Sodom, we don't know, why are they all dead? Why are they all righteously punished? Well, 1 Corinthians chapter 10 tells us, it describes another group of people who are rebelling against the Lord in the Old Testament. And it says, verse 5, with most of them, God was not pleased, and they were overthrown in the wilderness. So it's another description of another group of people that were overthrown in the wilderness, just like the people of Sodom. Verse 6, 1 Corinthians 10, verse 6. Now these things took place as examples for us, that we might not desire evil as they did. Do not be idolaters as some of them were. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Verse 8, we must not indulge in sexual immorality as some of them did, and 23,000 fell on a single day. We must not put Christ to the test as some of them did and were destroyed by serpents, or grumble as some of them did and were destroyed by the destroyer. Now these things happened to them as an example to us, but they were written down for our instruction, on whom the end of the ages has come. Therefore, let anyone thinks he stands take heed lest he fall. So these guys from the Old Testament are examples to us. Don't desire evil. Don't be idolaters. Don't indulge in sexual immorality. Don't put Christ to the test. Don't grumble. Don't fail to take heed. All right, so let's bring this home here now. So do you have a place where you stand before the Lord? Maybe a green chair or a place where you consider the characteristics and the activities of God and ultimately consider God himself. A place where you stand before the Lord. And the idea is we use the examples in the Bible, in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, other people's lives, so that we take the lessons into our heart and we don't have to learn the same lessons in the same hard way. So we can be struck by what strikes other people that we read about. So kind of like Hagar, we can sit with God and say, hey, you're the God who sees. You're the God who hears me. You're the God of seeing, for she said, for truly I have seen him who looks after me. Therefore, the well was called Ber Lahai Roi. That is the well of the living one who sees me. So Hagar says, I see you seeing me. I see you helping me here. I see your activity. So how can we do this right? Like Abraham, go in the early morning, go to a special place, stand before the Lord, look and be held, look with the right eyes, look with the right attitude, and then see the Lord helping you. So let's not be like Lot's wife. Let's be like Abraham, and let's go stand before the Lord. Thanks for listening.